Hello everybody, Big Homie here, and welcome to F1 22, the newest game by both esports and Codemasters. Of course, F1 2021 was mainly a Codemasters game with an EA stamp on it, but this time this has full EA Sports involvement, and there are a whole bunch of new features that you can plainly tell has been influenced by EA Sports, which are similar to the Madden and FIFA games, such as the new F1 Life and some other features which you could definitely tell are more inspired by EA. And it's a new era for not only Formula One but also a new era for the F1 games in general, and it's definitely an exciting direction that the future games in this game is headed towards. But first, we're gonna just head into a time trial, hop into a car, and head to a somewhat new track in terms of a track that's been changed and a track that we both feel out the car and feel out the new track at the same time. So we're gonna just hop into Williams, set a few laps, and I'm just gonna let this play for a little bit and talk about more or less the handling while just do laps in the background. But I would say most of my assists are just ABS on and traction control. Those are my main two assists, ignoring the fact that I have line on right now. But those are the main two I have, and those are the main two I want to get rid of as I just progress in the game. And if you've probably seen in my previous videos, I've always had traction control and ABS on, but that is a goal to get good with both of those just off plainly. And well, the first step in that is just getting used to the new car in general, because it is a different handling model. Definitely on a controller, admittedly, the car doesn't feel as responsive. It feels like you really have to chuck it into a corner for it to turn. You can definitely tell it's a much heavier car than the F1 2021 car, and you can just tell that in how the car responds just to the handling in general. And I saw some comments other YouTubers are making how, of course, when they had earlier access than this, of course, but how the curves were more realistic, I would say. And while I agree with that, I would say you can ride the curbs a bit more if you're careful compared to F1 2021, because it definitely felt like in F1 2021 it would be very hard to ride the curbs, and hard to every time you ride a curb it's almost an automatic spin in some corners. But after racing on a few tracks and after playing a few tracks, those curbs that I used to always spin on, I can take the exact same line and not spin on them. Now, whether that is due to the car handling in terms of just the new aerodynamics, the new ground effects floor, and just other new part of the new era that just come along with the car itself that allows you to ride curbs a bit better. But overall, I would say I actually prefer the handling a bit better towards F1 2021, as it's definitely I like riding the curbs. It forces me to kind of smooth out my ride. I feel like I have better car control and being able to take more curb. I feel like my times are a bit faster. They're probably not, but I feel like they are, so I guess that really counts. And yeah, it just feels better in general. But as we now move to footage of an Alpine in France, this is very much a French moment that is currently happening. But moving on to, I'll say, the glitches. Now, I've experienced many glitches myself, and of course, glitches are just going to come and go with the game. It's a new game, of course. Glitches and bugs are going to happen. And the only glitch I've really seen, the only bug, is that the time trial times are never saved, from what I've seen. I haven't had my time trials saved, and even if with driving the supercars, which I'll show footage of it later on, even just driving the supercars around on tracks, not even that time trials is saved. So all time trials in general don't seem to be saved. That seems to be the biggest bug that I've seen. And other bugs in general, I haven't really seen in person or just on my game in general of the few hours I played it. But just like right there that I took, for example, when I was talking about riding the curbs, I can demolish the curb completely and feel like it doesn't completely unsettle the car. And that's how I'd like for my car to respond. Be able to just knock over anything in its path and just be able to move forward. I feel faster that way, being able to just go through a corner instead of taking the corner correctly, I guess. But that's just my driving style personally, I guess. Other people have, of course, different driving styles. And maybe it's just on controller, maybe it's different on wheel. Maybe if you're one of those weirdos that play on keyboard and it's just something different. Maybe it's just, like I said, it's only for a controller and it's just something uniquely to controller maybe. But like I said, the bugs and glitches I haven't personally experienced, and the handling model is fine to me. And I would say you could definitely just it feels different compared to F1 2021, but it's a bit hard to describe for some reason. Like there's not many. I'll say the HUD difference. There's not really much. There's a bit of HUD difference just in terms of the RPMs and just the layout of it, but in the stylings, the subtle stylings. But other than that, the HUD is pretty much the same. And as here you see me testing out the runoff area as I completely fail. And I'll say the game felt better than F1 2021, which I guess is a good thing, of course, since it's newer. But for some reason, it did feel better. I don't know if it's just because I was excited to play it, because I was excited to play the game, but the game itself felt better in terms of how to drive the car and trying to just play it in general. Now, I haven't played My Team Career yet, and I haven't tried the original My Team car, but from what I've heard and what I've seen, it does seem to be a bit tough to drive depending on where you start. Now, of course, in my team, there's newcomer, midfield contender, and championship contender. I believe those are names. And those, if you start at newcomer, it's guaranteed that the car is going to feel very, very trash. And of course, if you jump all the way up to championship contender, then you'll pretty much almost be guaranteed to fighting for the championship, or maybe get your first few wins in your first season. And while I will be producing my team videos in the future as the footage moves to driving a Ferrari at Silverstone, and as I was saying, I forgot what I was saying. So yeah, back to what I was saying. While I do plan to do my team videos in the future, is gonna have to be thought about whether or not I want to do where I want to start. And it gives you a variety of options, which is always good to have a choice in where to start. Of course, in F1 2021, you had no choice but to start from the back, and could be helped out with choices from the Will Buxton interview at the beginning. But in general, you always start from the back of the pack, or maybe just lower midfield tier. But of course, with these options, you can start even higher if you so choose. And like I say, it gives you variety, it gives you nice, good options to choose what you want to do. So that was nice of them to add that. And while on the topic of career modes, it is a shame that Breaking Point is gone for the time being. Hopefully, it will be back. Hopefully, by maybe F1 2023 or F1 23. But in general, it's just gone, kind of forgotten, and I'll say it was not forgotten. It was definitely a great story mode in general, and it is, like I said, a shame that it's not on here in the game. But at the same time, that hopefully gives the Codemasters teams in EA Sports more time to focus on the game itself instead of just the story mode itself and how all it took to produce the story mode, all the actors they had to get. As this was the time I decided that enough was enough, and I'll turn off traction control completely and tough it out and see how far I can get without it. I have practiced no traction control in F1 2021, so I feel like new game, new me. As I, of course, spin within a few corners, but just moving on, I want to get used to new traction, and I was still just trying to, get used to it, be careful on the throttle, and I felt like this was the perfect time, of course, to turn off no assist. If you're somebody that is used to having all the assists on, and you just want to turn some off, or if you're doing competitive racing at all, and just want to turn some off, I'll say this is the perfect time to do so because everyone is getting somewhat of a reset, trying to get used to the new handling model, and just trying to get used to things again. And this is the perfect time so you don't get too bogged down competitively, and can just turn off all the assists if you want. As I also decided to turn off anti-lock brakes, ABS, and this was probably the best decision to do both at the same time, because I always felt like every time I was about to have a spin and was losing traction, I can tap the brake, lock the brakes up, and it can stop me mid-spin, and that actually helped me even more and be able to do some either nice drifts or prevent me from spinning into a wall. And that was probably the best decision to do it then and there. But like I was saying, this is the best time to turn off all assists, and doing no traction control first, it felt better. One of my theories was that maybe I wasn't spinning on the curbs or anything because I had traction control on. Of course, no spinning, duh. But in this case, I still got on curbs, was still just trying to take my normal lines, and I didn't feel like I was still spinning. I was getting on curbs, trying to, like I said, take my normal lines, but everything felt fine. As we move to once again a new track in general, the newest track of them all, Miami, and this time driving the Red Bull powertrain car, as it's fully known. And I would say this doing full laps around here, and I was able to set a complete clean lap around here. It felt great actually, and it was definitely Miami. I'll say in general, of all the tracks that I've raced on already, and I've raced probably 6 tracks at the moment, and of all the tracks, I would say Miami at the moment is my favorite, and that is coming from an unbiased American. Of course, I'm no bias in this at all, but in general, the Miami circuit was felt beautiful. It was nice and flowing as I flow all my way into a nice good spin. But in general, the track itself was nice and flowing. As we move on to later, of all the time trials I've shown on screen, this is one of the only clean laps I can set with no traction control and ABS off. So this is just a full lap in general, headed into turn 1. Just nice and smooth on the brakes. I noticed I felt like I locked up a lot, and I probably did. As I got into a half spin right there, I did a nice good drift. And that's why I said having ABS off and be able to lock the brakes helped with also being able to turn off traction control, because like I said, I locked the brakes, stop myself from spinning, and be able to just carry on without having to worry about spinning again. As I almost had another moment, I was able to correct it that time. But I'll say the first sector is just as beautiful as the rest. Definitely the third sector area, between the third and second sector, those are definitely some beautiful areas of the track. Of course, all the corners, except for the straights, of course, were beautiful in terms of just how they felt, nice and flowing. I was able to tackle the curves like right there. If you tackle the curves correctly and just right, you can have it go underneath your car if you're not running too low, and be able to take the first part of the chicane pretty cleanly without getting a warning or without invalidating your lap. So the track itself just felt really flowing and just really good in general. And also, as background context, all the time trials I did, I set with an equal car. And I'll say one of the good parts I noticed just doing laps with realistic cars, like in the Mercedes, that was also an interesting experience because you can tell, of course, one of the best topics is porpoising, and you could really tell when the Mercedes was porpoising, and you would just hear the ground scraping, the floor scraping against the car, against the ground rather, and it felt really realistic. As we move on to Pirelli hot laps, and they're actually not hot laps at all. They're just little tiny events. And this one is at Saudi Arabia, driving the McLaren 720S. What a beautiful orange that is. And doing an average speed zone, similar to kind of like a Forza Horizon event, just keeping your average speed throughout a certain portion of a area, in this case, a certain portion of a track. And I would say this event, first event of all the hot laps, quote unquote, and this was definitely the easiest. I only did two, but this is definitely the easiest in terms of just doing everything. And even I'll say in terms of the handling of the supercars, that felt great in terms of the handling. The F1 cars felt great handling, and the supercars felt also realistic. It was stiff. You can, let's see, I'm just skidding a bit all over the place because I still have the assist off, but it felt more realistic and was definitely it was good to drive. And as I have a whole bunch of understeer and slam into the wall as I am with a perfect 100 miles per hour. For all the people in Europe that's wondering why I use miles per hour, that's because I'm American and I have no idea. I'm not gonna convert it to kph, but in terms of, like I said, the handling of everything, it just felt great handling in general. And even the hot laps, there were fun little events. It was definitely a good experience, I guess I'll say. And as we get gold, easy, done, and moving on to the second event, which is a drift event. This I didn't really know what to expect. Drifting in Forza was definitely a spectacle in and of itself in terms of how hard or how easy it was. But I'll say with the handling model of the supercars, like I said, it was realistic. So the cars are definitely stiffer compared to the handling of the F1 cars, and that's what you automatically assume to being an F1 game. But the cars are stiffer, so you're gonna have to adjust for how stiff the car is. As with this drift event, you just, of course, you gotta lose traction and try to slide through the corners. That's the whole point of drifting. But you can't, having that snap of oversteer, automatically you want to correct it. Being kind of like an F1 car, you kind of want to correct the oversteer already. And as you might have saw earlier, I had a bit of oversteer and I overcorrected and went off track. But while I'll say the event, just like the speed zone event, the event in and of itself was really good in terms of, it was fun drifting around Saudi Arabia with the banked corners, trying to drift around. It was definitely, like I said, a fun little event. It's something you want to do if you're bored of anything else. Maybe you're sick and tired of getting rammed in online lobbies, getting sent into the shadow realm. Then you could just, hop on these Pirelli hot laps, have a bit of coffee, be able to chill, sit down, and, kind of just deflate a bit. Or not deflate, what's the word I'm looking for? Be able to relax. There, I guess, let's keep it simple. Relax and be able to just, just set some laps, be able to do some fun events. As I crashed into walls multiple times, and it, like I said, with the drift zone events or the drifts in general, there's not a set number of laps. You only get, I believe it was, just over maybe 3 minutes. It might have been around 3 minutes, under 3 minutes. I did not bother to check, of course, but it definitely, end up getting used to it towards the end. So definitely is my goal to get gold on it. But I'll say you have to get used to how the car handles and be able to lose traction which is where the traction control comes into play. Having no traction control definitely helped. Unless they have a certain setting where they, or a certain kind of like program where they automatically, okay, you're doing a drift event, so you're gonna lose traction no matter what assist you have, or they have assist restrictions where they just turn off traction control for you. But I'll say in general, if they don't do that for you, having no traction control is definitely going to be a lot easier than not having it on at all. As we just get enough, barely, to get the silver medal, the silver award, and just like I said, the Pearly Hot Laps is a cool little feature, and it reminds me of like a skills trainer in Madden, or just other skill events in other sports games, and that's kind of where the EA Sports influence comes into play. One of the ways EA has influenced the game, and while it seems a bit hidden in terms of the name, of course, Pearly Hot Laps, that's a thing in real life, so it's a logical name in and of itself. But it's definitely, you can see how it's inspired by EA being more involved. As I decided to set some laps in the safety car around Spain. Spain in and of it also being not a new track, but the corners are a bit different. Corners are a bit altered for this game, and one corner is a nice sharp hairpin, is a more of a nice spoon corner, a little bit banked, but also kind of it reminds me of Spoon Corner in Japan at Suzuka. I say Suzuki. I don't think we're driving motorcycles. But yeah, all the tracks felt really good in my opinion. And all the 6 tracks I drove, it just felt good. The handling model felt great, and the tracks also just felt like you can trust. Like the comment was made about F1 2021, where you can lean on the tires more, and be able to, you have a bit more trust in the car. I feel like that's also happened even in this game. To trust the car and not trust the car, but trust your driving ability and have somewhat more confidence in driving some of the tracks and some of the cars. As I decided to do the smartest thing anyone has ever done, and that is do a wet version of Abu Dhabi. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is raining in the desert. This is probably the most rain they've seen in decades. But I was just curious, how it felt, and why not add a slight twist to it. But yeah, even in the wet, though you can tell with no traction, it was hard to try to bolt right away in a straight line. But in general, it was definitely a easier, I'll say, experience, because at least an easier experience than I thought it was going to be, because I thought it was going to be doomed for all. It's going to feel like every track is horrible. Every curve that I go on, I'm going to spin. Oh no, it's the end of the world as we know it. They just nuked every track, and the car handling is horrible. But no, it was actually the complete opposite in terms of just how the car felt in general and how the handling was. And I know I keep talking about it, but that's really the most obvious thing that I really felt about the game, in terms of how the cars felt and how the tracks felt in them of themselves. And it was an enjoyable experience, and just being able to somewhat play early. Of course, all the glitches they may have, all the timing glitches, hopefully that'll be fixed somewhat soon, or by the full release date on July 1st. But in general, I didn't experience many glitches or bugs, and it was an enjoyable experience. Like I said, I know I keep repeating it, but it definitely very much was. And those are really the most notable things about the game so far. The car handling is, like I said, feels great. The tracks feel great. Of course, the tracks are a bit altered. Of course, they want to bring it up to date in terms of how the tracks feel. but it definitely is a bit more. I'll say it's realistic. Of course, the goal is going to be realism, but it everything felt more realistic. Maybe I just keep repeating myself because I turned all the assists off, and that's just how they feel with no assists, and that's probably true. But it, it being a new game, being excited for the game, I feel like it's lived up to expectations and was even higher than what I had expected in the first place. So yeah, and as you see in the background, moving on to this time dry Abu Dhabi. I want to see just how it felt in the dry, and it felt pretty much the same in general. And it, like I said, it, I keep repeating, but yeah, the game was just really enjoyable in terms of how the car felt. And I know it seems like I'm just getting paid by Codemasters and EA Sports right now. I wish, but in general, it definitely, well, it just felt like a great game and was definitely, and I keep saying it, but it was an enjoyable experience. But back to when I was talking about just turning off assists, and of course during the Ferrari and Silverstone footage, like I said, this is the perfect time if you are racing competitively and want to start turning off assists. And in terms of just how I felt driving the car around, it felt just really good being able to get used to everything, be able to learn how not to slide, throttle input, and how to brake a lot more smooth. But moving on towards the F1 life, more features, the supercars and all the supercars you unlock. If you worried about all the supercars and oh no, how will I get all the supercars? Oh no, I'll never be able to get them all. Actually, it's relatively simple, and you probably do it within the first podium pass, and that as in 50 days. So, I'll say I only have with one card token left, supercar token. There are, I believe, 11. That's taking a stab in the dark. Probably a lot less than that. I'm gonna say 8 supercars, and I already own half of them. It's probably around 9 supercars. But I already own about half of them, over half of them. So if you're worried about all these supercars, and if you're maybe being dedicated to car collecting, if it disappoints you, then wow. Yeah, if you're interested in car collecting, this would be a disappointment for you because it's very easy, in my opinion, to collect all the cars, since I already have most of them already, and I've only played for a couple hours, not even that long. So moving on to F1 life, or just F1 liveries in general, since this is all under the F1 life tab. I would say just designing one of the liveries. The livery design is a lot more detailed, and I appreciate EA and Codemasters for putting this in. Being able to copy colors and not have to memorize hues, saturation, and luminance rather. And it made everything a lot easier. And of course, the paint's finished. That's also a nice, good touch towards how to make your livery unique and be able to just, make the livery you want to make. Of course, it's not like some people hope for, being able to design and place everything they want to place. It wasn't like a Forza livery designer where you can kind of do everything yourself, DIY it, and like I said, do everything yourself. But in general, it's still a good feature, and the liveries, though some of them are still the same from the previous game, I feel like they actually look better on the new car. I don't know if it's just how the new car looks, and maybe it is just how a new car looks in general. It looks better on a new car compared to the 2021 car. But yeah, the car looked good in general, and be able to have a different paint finish was definitely the cherry on top of what I thought were some pretty good liveries made by EA and Codemasters. But also, and I don't know if this is a glitch in general, it probably is a glitch. then I've experienced 2 glitches so far, in the sense of when I was trying to add sponsors to the car, a lot of times they weren't showing up all of a sudden. So I was able to put the slingshot fuel on the sides pod and be able to design that to however I wanted. But for any, like the front wing, on the top of the front wing, I couldn't put a sponsor on it. As you can see in the footage, nothing's showing up. I'm trying to click on stuff, nothing's really working. It's not showing up. Change the color, that's not working at all. So maybe that's a glitch also, but maybe also it's on purpose, because maybe it's the paint finish that's getting in the way, and maybe that's the problem, because also on this side the paint finish is working just fine. So maybe it is just the paint finish that's the problem, and maybe it's not a glitch. But I'm assuming it is, because you should be able to have to paint whatever paint finish you want. But if it's a glitch, then I do hope this gets fixed relatively soon. Definitely if you're planning on doing it in my team career mode and you're like me and it might bug you not being able to fully decorate your car how you want to decorate it. And it's definitely, it's one of the little touches that, you know, kind of annoyed me. But moving on to the real F1 life area, the new feature is being able to choose how you want to decorate your room, your furniture. Of course, I went for the V8 engine, looks great, and you know, I appreciate the design. And the flooring, the walls, just going from somewhat of an urban setting. We're doing a nice black walls with wood floor, and everything felt. I feel like I keep repeating myself that it's a great experience, but it technically was in general. That everything, the experience of itself was that word, enjoyable. It was a pleasure to play, I guess I'll say. And hey, that rhymed. Anyway, and being able to just customize everything to heart's consent and consent. Being able to customize everything to your heart's content was definitely a nice touch to the game. And on top of that, being able to, you know, decorate your driver at the same time. Because while as I speed through this, there are a lot of design choices. So with this interesting background music, be able to enjoy all the customization offers. Of course, they all cost Bitcoin, and if you don't want to pay money for all the Bitcoin, that's understandable. But in general, of course, who's gonna see? This was one of the features that were definitely EA inspired in customizing everything and being able to do everything. But this was a star of the show right here. Of course, with the new game, because the new victory radio call, and this.
Oh, peanut butter jelly time! Peanut butter jelly time! Woo!
Might be the most beautiful thing my ears has ever heard. I'm immediately grinding this game and playing it for hours to make sure I can get that whenever I need it. But like I said, the game in of itself was very great to play, and stick around soon, because I do plan on starting very soon the My Team career mode, start a series on that, and I plan on doing some challenge videos just to get used to the game in general and how to play the game. But if you did enjoy my F1 22 review, please leave a comment down below and smash that like button. And let me know what other games you want me to play. I plan on making some Assetto Corsa videos in the near future, and there's some new videos on this game in general. And like I said, the game is great, and if you're interested in all this new stuff, please do get subscribed, and please do hit the notification button, as I definitely plan on producing a lot more videos this time around. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.